What's up everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to talk about the top player from every American League team in 2021. Also make sure you get in the comment section down below and let me know who do you think is the best player on your favorite MLB team. First up we got the Angels, Shohei Ohtani. This one is the absolute no-brainer why Shohei Ohtani is the Angels' top player on their team. Not only he can get it done offensively, but he can also get on the mound and give you a solid game and get right back out there in the outfield and give you some solid at-bats as well. And he also might be one of the best players in the MLB. Definitely let me know what you think in the comments below. Next up, we got the Houston Astros, Yordan Alvarez. In 2021, he not only led his team in home runs hit, but he also led them with runs batted in. Not to mention, he had a really good postseason for them, and he's just 24 years old, so he still has a lot of room to grow, and I definitely feel like he's one of their best players. Obviously, you can argue that Jose Altuve and Carlos Correa might be their best, but Yordan Alvarez this season, I feel like, is their top player. Next up, we got Kyle Seager from the Seattle Mariners. Now keep in mind, he's 34 years old and his production has not slowed down. While he may not return to Seattle in 2022, he did have a great year in 2021, putting up 35 home runs at 34 years old and hitting over 100 runs batted in. Not to mention, he also had 3 stolen bases, but I personally think he's one of their best offensive players from this past season. And I don't know who it will be in 2022. It really depends if he comes back and if he's still productive. Next up, we got Matt Olson from the Oakland Athletics. Now, you could argue that he might be one of the best first basemen in all of baseball currently. This season for the Oakland A's, he had 39 home runs and 111 runs batted in. He definitely put up some MVP caliber stats this year, but of course Shohei Ohtani and Vladdy Jr. might just take MVP, but I definitely feel like Matt Olson might be the best player on the Oakland A's team, especially from this last season. Next up, we got Adolis Garcia from the Texas Rangers. Now keep in mind, he only made his MLB debut in 2019, and in 2020 we had a shortened MLB season. So technically this is his first full MLB season and he had 31 home runs. That's pretty outstanding from a rookie that barely has had any time in the MLB. Not to mention, he had 91 RBIs and he was pretty good defensively as well. Also, something else to mention is he had 16 stolen bases as well, so he's pretty quick on the bases as well. So overall, Garcia is definitely the top player on the Texas Rangers, and we'll see who makes it next year. Heading over to the Central, we got the Chicago White Sox, Yasmani Grandal. In 2021, he put up some pretty good numbers. 23 home runs from a catcher is pretty good. Not to mention 62 RBIs, and was one of the top players on the White Sox in on-base percentage. He had a pretty good season, not only behind the plate, but of course offensively. And I mean, that's all you can ask for from a catcher. He is definitely the top player on the Chicago White Sox. Next up, we got the Detroit Tigers, Miguel Cabrera. I mean, this one is an absolute no-brainer as well, because I mean, he's Miguel Cabrera. He's one of the best players on the Tigers. Not to mention, he hit his 500th career home run this season, and he is currently 13 hits away from his 3,000th hit. He's definitely a Hall of Famer, and I mean, who else would you pick over him on the Tigers? Coming up next, we have a player that I really feel like was underrated in 2021. We have Jose Ramirez. Now keep in mind, he just re-signed with the Cleveland Indians, so he will be back, or I should say the Cleveland Guardians. So he will be back, and we'll see if he has another productive season in 2022. But year in, year out, he has been really productive for the Indians. And this year, he had 36 home runs and hit 266 on the season. So I really feel like he's one of their best offensive players. But also, he was really good defensively as well. So he's definitely their top player for the 2021 season. Next up, we got Salvador Perez from the Kansas City Royals. Now, there's no argument that he's their top player, hitting 48 home runs, the most home runs by a catcher in a single season. I mean, is there really much more to say about that? Not to mention, he had a 273 average, and he's really good defensively. So, again, there's absolutely no argument. He's their top player. Next up, we got Josh Donaldson for the Minnesota Twins. Now, he did sign a really large contract with them, and in 2020, he did pretty decent, hitting 6 home runs and 11 RBIs. But in 2021, he had a much more productive season, hitting 26 home runs and 72 runs batted in. Not to mention, he had a 247 average as well, and just overall, now that Nelson Cruz got traded away, I feel like he might be their best player. Heading over to the American League East, we got the Tampa Bay Rays' Wander Franco. This was kind of a difficult choice for me to choose the best player on the Rays because they have had so many offensive players that really had a great season, such as Austin Meadows and Brandon Lau, both having a really good season. But if you take a look at Wander Franco, he's very, very young, and he barely has had any time in the MLB. But his numbers don't lie. He barely strikes out, and he gets on base almost every single game. So when he comes up to the plate, you can definitely trust this guy. And don't forget, he also broke a Hall of Famer's record for the most games in a row getting on base. So he's definitely got a bright future, and I feel like he's definitely the top player on the Rays team offensively. Going over to Toronto, Canada, we got Vladdy Jr. of the Toronto Blue Jays. I mean, what more is there to say? I mean, there's no argument that he's their best player on the team. 48 home runs this year, and in the top vote for MVP over Shohei Ohtani as well. They're kind of battling it out currently. But yes, Vladdy Jr. is definitely their top player. 48 home runs, 111 RBIs, and a batting average of .311. Overall, he just was very, very productive for the Blue Jays, and he was definitely a huge factor on why the Blue Jays almost made the postseason. Next up, we got Aaron Judge from the New York Yankees, hitting 38 home runs, 98 RBIs, and a .287 average. Not to mention, Giancarlo Stanton was right behind him for the top player, but besides those two, there weren't many Yankees players that had the productive season that they had. But overall, Aaron Judge had a really good season, and he continues to perform really well for the New York Yankees, and he's a huge part on their success besides, not making the World Series. But overall, I think Aaron Judge is definitely the Yankees' top player. Next up, we got the Boston Red Sox, Rafael Devers. I mean, there's no question about it. He definitely had one of the best seasons of his career, not to mention just really productive for the Red Sox, and a huge reason why they made it so far in the postseason, even though they lost to the Astros in the ALCS. But during the regular season, he had 38 home runs and 113 runs batted in. Not to mention, he also had a .279 batting average. Overall, a really productive season from him, and he'll definitely look to continue that into next season. Next up, we got the Baltimore O's, Cedric Mullins. I mean, it's kind of hard to choose a top player from a team that doesn't even get 60 wins in a season, but Mullins was definitely their top player in 2021. And yes, Ryan Mountcastle did hit more home runs than him, but Mullins had a better batting average, and that's why I personally think he's the better player. He had a .291 batting average, 30 home runs, and 89 runs batted in. Not a bad season from him. So I definitely feel like that's Baltimore's top player offensively. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But guys, that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you subscribe down below so you don't miss out on the National League's every team's top player video. Also guys, get in the comment section down below and let me know your thoughts, and let me know if you agree or disagree with the top players from every American League team. Other than that guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will catch you guys in my next one.